Chapter 3 Spell Creation Process. Jerious traced the air into lines. The glint of magic sparked on his fingertips as he performed the spell. After drawing an intricate, invisible design that matched the one in his head, he placed his palm on the center. Dokrift! The symbol illuminated, revealing the very lines he traced in the air. Air swirled around him. The breeze of air caused bolts of static electricity to randomly spark around the room. The air accelerated and Jerious vanished from sight. The room calmed down, reverting to normal. The town of Varus. A small pocket of air next to the river swelled up and burst away from the central spot. Jerious appeared, causing the air to push back from him.
Question.
What?
If you can use that red ring to perform certain magic as much as you want, why then would you use an arcane spell? Those spells take a great deal more effort. You spent an hour memorizing the spells in your head now.
Jerious looked at his surroundings. There were pedestrians walking about. He was no doubt seeing. The people here are accustomed to magic. It's been a long time since I've been here. I was curious if they were still neutral on magic. The trees swayed with light wind as the sun shone, giving a nice warmth. Jerious paused to feel the warm sun. He closed his eyes, feeling good. And to answer your question, to teleport where I want at any time is not a capability of this ring. It gives me warlock powers, and I teleport I used the other day, just after your true self was taken by Dagon, was more of an escape power than this ring allows me to do as often as I desire.
And you picked that cavern. How sad.
It is more than adequate. Jerious walked forward.
What's in Varus that you want?
He passed the local church, which was marked with the symbols of the three worshipped gods. Guardian represented by 6 connecting circles, Sabin represented by 5, and Deity represented by 7. Varus is quite strange when you think about it, Jerious said, ignoring the question.
Yes? You mean the fact that they worship all 3 gods?
There are far more than those 3 gods, but yes.
Speaking of other gods, Loth haunts your dreams. What do you plan on doing about that?
Jerious turned left, passing the church, continuing to walk, entering the wide street. For now, nothing. Loth is having fun at my expense because she knows that Dagon and or I will come for her soon.
And? What do you mean, and? Are you actually suggesting that you will form some alliance with that demon lord? That's insanity.
He continued walking on the other side of the street. He passed several houses. He looked at a beggar, to which Jerious only glanced at him as he proceeded, completely ignoring his plea for help. You teamed up with Pazuzu not too long ago.
I never gave Pazuzu my trust. You talk as if Dagon might actually need you, let alone want you. Besides, he has my true self. Maybe I'm still alive.
Jerious stopped in front of one of the houses. This house had boarded up windows. It was unkempt for years. Yeah, you could be, but to be honest, I wouldn't expect it. Dagon is the type who would absorb not just psychic energy, but also life force, and more importantly, souls. He quite literally would most likely leave nothing left. Meaning
There would be no possible way to bring my true self back.
Jerious felt Jason mentally slump down in the same fashion a person would allow themselves to fall down on the ground. So remember, if that is the case, that means you are the metamind. Also, we've arrived at our destination.
What is this place?
Jerious walked up the 7 steps to the front door. This should be the Psionics Guild. He placed his hand on the door.
Wait!
The door swung open from something on the inside. Jerious attempted to jump back, but was grabbed by something and pulled inside faster than he could see it. The door slammed shut behind him. The pulling sensation through the dark corridor after dark corridor was overwhelming. Jerious finally managed to activate an invocation from his ring, allowing himself to see in the dark. Doing so did not help. He was moving too fast to distinguish any details. Everything looked like a blur as he passed by.
Jerious, you need to do something. Something is draining me. The psychic power I have is almost depleted.
Jerious was paralyzed from the grabbing effect. He looked down at his waist to see a large dark tentacle wrapped around his body and pulling him further into whatever this place was. The house door must be a portal to some kind of demi-plane, Jerious thought to himself, more as an observation than anything.
Shit, you cannot move. How can you do your magic or your invocations? This must be Dagon.
Jason communicated. Some invocations I can do, Jerious thought. This could get us killed. The red ring glowed from the power inside. He vanished from sight, leaving behind an illusion of himself. The tentacle continued to pull. He reappeared a few feet from the location. He felt a falling sensation. His eyes still followed him to see in the dark. With his body free, he looked around himself to stabilize his body. He activated another invocation to fly. His body hovered in the air. He took in the surrounding view. Tentacles writhed in every direction, up, down, and all around, in an endless void. The tentacles were not everywhere, but their number and endless length were eternal. Shades of blue, black, and gray spanned out this realm. The air was murky with a sour taste that caused Jerious to almost spasm in a fit of cough. He fought the strong urge to cough.
The air alone could kill us. We need to get out of here.
Jerious activated the return invocation his ring always had at the ready. The portal appeared and Jerious floated in. The portal closed behind him. He entered his lair, ending the invocations, collapsing on his bed. He fought the urge to cough no more. Black smoke spewed from his mouth with every cough. Spasming in his bed, he exhaled black smoke for over an hour. I miss being undead, Jerious finally said.
That was awful. I am willing to bet that every black spot that you scried has the exact same problem.
If it does, then it means that Dagon is far more powerful than we anticipated. If he has every psychic from every guild and every Klimo from the city of Klimo, then Dagon shouldn't seek my help. Loth should. Jerious climbed out of bed. He walked to a cabinet next to the bookshelf. He opened it and pulled out a stick of paper, along with a quill and small jar of ink.
What's your plan?
For starters, that air is not only toxic, but I have never encountered anything like it. Undoubtedly, we will see it again, so I need to make a new spell to counter it. He moved to the parchments and ink jar to an adjacent table and chair.
Then what?
He wrote with the quill in his hand and began his work. Work on your psychic abilities. If you're going to be useful, I need them strong.
Even if, and that's a big if, I become just as strong as the real me was prior to being abducted by Dagon, I would still pale in comparison.
Pale. Jerious stopped working. Pale night. Jason, I honestly didn't even think about it until now.
Think about what? Pale Knight? The ghostly demon lord of light?
Not just him, but all of them. There are hundreds of demon lords. What I mean is, what is Dagon doing?
He's captured psychics from across the multiverse.
Yes, we both know this, but why is he doing it?
To bolster his power, obviously.
Yes, but why?
Jerious, just say it.
Just read my mind instead of making me speak it. He stood up, almost knocking over his work. A light appeared behind him. He spun around to face the threat. Pale Knight's here! Jerious fired an Eldritch Blast at the light source behind him. The green light dodged to the left, avoiding it. Jerious, stop! The ball of green light said. Halting for a moment, he kept his arm raised, ready to fire another blast. Jerious squinted his eyes, staring at the light. He smirked, then lowered his hand. Jason? Yes! The ball of green light vibrated as it spoke. I am the astral projection. I cannot read your thoughts while doing this, because I am here and not in your head. Jerious laughed. You know you are still in my head, right? Otherwise it would be called something else. Sitting down, he continued to work. The ball of green light hovered over his shoulder. Being my first time doing this, I could not form a shape for my projection. I honestly don't care. Practice your powers without disturbing me. With you not in my head, I can actually concentrate on making this spell. You just contradicted yourself, Jason said. Jerious ripped through the parchment with the quill, annoyed by Jason pointing that out. You said I'm still in your head. Jason would smile if the form could. Hours later, the green light was shaped like a man with no face. He hovered in the air, meditating. Jason held a piece of paper full of inked runes and words in several languages. A book was open to a blank page sat in front of him. Skortash, Jerious said, waving his hand from the paper to the open book. The page in the hand turned blank, while the empty page in the book filled with what was on the paper. The astral projection floated to Jerious, facing him. That is a convenient way to transcribe, Jason said. He closed the book, then turned to Jason's astral projection. You astral projected the entire time. This is the first time you've used your astral gland, isn't it? Yes, it is, Jason said as the green astral projection dimmed, becoming more translucent. I did not notice until you pointed it out. I'm completely drained now. The green light dispersed, ending the astral projection. It hasn't even been that long, and you're already getting stronger. Jerious carried the book to a bookshelf, putting it in the proper place.
Do you believe that the place we went with, the tentacles, was the 93rd abyss?
Yes, I do.
You also believe that we need help. You have the power of Orcus and the strength of Ammon.
Maybe if I still had my sword, I could outmatch Dagon. It was a mistake to just give it to the angels.
You would be dead if I hadn't.
And now that you could see my old memories and exactly what that sword can do you still believe it was a good trade? My life for that sword? He grabbed a different spellbook and proceeded to his table.
You could make another.
Jerious contorted his face, aggravated by the very suggestion. He intentionally dropped his book on the table, practically throwing it down. Throwing his hands in the air, Jerious stormed to his bed. Do you honestly need to explain that I was Cretan back then, far more powerful than anything you could conceive? Jason didn't respond to the rhetorical question. Jerious felt tired. The brief encounter with Dagon, along with the smoke affecting him, and now the spell creation, has been draining. His face drooped with exhaustion, slipped his robe off. He retired, fully expecting the nightmare to overtake him the moment he lost consciousness. He opened his eyes. It was dark, and yet he could still see a few feet out. To his astonishment, he was not restrained this time. A stench of waste and decay filled his lungs, but it was breathable. His feet were soaked in water that rose just above the ankles. Looking all around, he saw to the left and right were walls carved of stone. This was a tunnel. Both ends were flowing with imperceptible darkness. The sewers. Loth, I remember this one, Jerious called out. Are you going to have the twins kill me this time? I can't recall their names. It was so very long ago. I am nowhere near done having fun with you, Lot's voice echoed. The direction of origin was impossible to ascertain. Movement in the water was felt from behind. He spun around to face the unknown torture that came for him. A robed figure emerged from the water, pointing at Jerious. Muck dripped from him. His arm was the only thing revealed outside of the robes. The rotted arm's flesh has been bitten and gnawed upon by ghouls. The thing took a step forward towards Jerious. He felt the fear swell inside, even though he knew this was fake, and fear overtook him. Turning around to try to escape down the other end of the tunnel, his legs took flight to escape that thing behind. Turning a corner, Jerious stepped through an unseen hole on the floor, causing his body to tumble into the water, falling. He attempted to latch onto the edge and fell. Limbs thrashed about in a desperate attempt to swim back up. He fell through, splashing into a small room, struggling to get up and stabilize his body. Jerious looked up. The hole he fell from has been replaced by a stone ceiling, as if it was always been there. The water rippled about him. Movement was felt from every direction, from multiple sources. "Show yourself!" Heads rose out of the water surrounding Jerious. They were scattered all throughout the brown urine and feces that filled the water. The heads were grotesque, ghoulish, half-eaten figures connected to mangled bodies that twitched as they slowly rose out of the water. Decomposed faces were recognized. The twins were among them. The rest brought vague memories from young adulthood. They were town guards and regular citizens from Herod. One more figure stood after the rest. It was the same robed one from earlier before Jerious fell down here. His arm still extended, the hood slipped off of his head, revealing his face. It was the face of his old teacher, the one who later became his servant. "Illuminous!" Jerious shouted, recognizing him. "You turned me into a decrepit thing!" The rotted voice caused Jerious to cringe. "I saved you! It was your fault I became a half-man, half-thing. Devour him!" Illuminous ordered the surrounding ghouls. The ghouls jumped into the air, hurling to Jerious. He had no direction he could run. They latched onto his arms and legs, biting into his flesh, tearing his limbs. His guts were ripped out by their bony hands. He felt them digging through his insides. Pain was overwhelming. Jerious screamed as one ghoul gnawed at his right eye while another chewed through his lower jaw. The horrid bites were everywhere. Pain increased every second. Only Loth's laughter was heard through the pain. Jerious rolled out of bed, tossing his body, trying to escape the ghouls. The pain persisted. He still felt them biting his flesh as an after effect from the nightmare. After 10 seconds, he became his senses standing up. His body was still sweating. He smelled his own urine and feces.
You really should get into the habit of relieving yourself prior to sleeping.
Jerious snapped his fingers, casting a minor spell to clean himself. He wasted no time preparing for the day, conjuring food and water. He sat up at the table to look through the spell book he set on the table prior to sleeping.
Memorizing spells is incredibly tedious.
Jason remarked as he himself exercised his cerebral muscle, causing several objects in the room to hover in circles. Jerious fought the urge to respond by keeping his focus on the magic. End of chapter 3.